Welcome back to Nerf Rewired. Today I'm going to be doing a simple rewire on a Nerf Rayven that I apparently picked up at a Goodwill for $4.49. A bargain at 3 times that, though it does have a very sticky rev trigger and it is missing its side rail, so I understand why it was at the Goodwill. We are going to upgrade it to 2S. Today we're going to be using Fang revamps because I have a bunch. So, to go over quickly, the materials that we'll be using, obviously we have the blaster. I'm going to try a motor spanning board that I don't know that'll fit in the shell. We will find out. We do have a switch plate. This particular switch is one that does not have the lever. That's the way this switch plate is designed. Pair of Fang revamps, motor screws, a Morpheus cage, because I had the file and figured why not. We're going to be using standard worker wheels and of course an XD60 connector. For tools, we need a heat gun of some kind, some form of heat for the heat shrink that we'll talk about later. Wire strippers, screwdriver, pliers, side cutters. I have a magnet tray for screws. Handy hands, rotary tool, and a soldering iron, as well as a tip cleaner for the soldering iron. For consumables, we have the usual heat shrink, wire, Loctite, super glue, flux paste, and solder. I also have some E-tape in the event I need some to adjust the barrel. But that should be everything I need. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything, though you never know. I always end up pulling some random tool. Anyway, let's get this thing open and get it rewired. Seems that, like most of the blasters in the N-Strike series, the screws in the rail section are slightly smaller. So be sure you put the short ones back there or you will end up damaging the shell ever so slightly on the far side of the rail. Alright, see if I got them all on the first try. I did! Alright. I don't know if we're going to need to do anything on that side. We will find out at some point. We'll start by stripping everything out of it. Everything we need out of it, anyway. I think we'll need to pull the trigger just to get it out of the way. If I understand the design of this switch plate, it will be able to reuse this plate, and it will be able to maintain its trigger lock. Oh yeah, no, it definitely needs a better return spring of some kind. Okay, this can all come out, this can all come out, this can come out. There are no cage screws. This blaster, the cage is held in by the shell. Okay. There's our stock loom removed. We do need to go into the battery housing and pull the battery leads. Alright, we're going to take out all of these dividers as best we can. Okay. Battery tray is gutted, though I don't know of any lipos that'll actually fit in a stock tray. There are any manner of expanded battery trays and battery stocks and all sorts of things you can do it for, but clearing it out anyway. We are going to need Dremel a hole for the cables. Now let's take a look at how this switch plate fits in here, because I've never used this particular switch plate. Don't actually know how it goes. We will need to do some dremeling to make it fit. But it looks like it does rely on a fair amount of existing infrastructure to help hold it in place. I like that. Let's cut away some stuff. Oh, there we go. Nicely mounted. Seems to be fairly clicky as well. Hopefully it will no longer be so prone to catching. Let's see when we put the trigger back in. Seems good. All right. That's pretty much all we need to do shell-wise. Let's check our cage. Apparently it goes in that way. Well, we are going to need to trim the shell a bit. Maybe. Yeah. Is that going to be a problem with the magazine? Nah, not really. No need to trim it very far, it doesn't look like. Which means we probably will need to trim some on the other side of the shell as well. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Shell seems to fit around the cage and the switch plate now. It's a little tight and it pops into place, but everything does seem to ultimately fit. Yes, that definitely fits better. Okay. All right. Now we can assemble our flywheel cage. I'm going to operate on the assumption that I will be using a switch plate or a motor spanning board until it proves I can't. I do need to clean up the inside of this still a little bit. Got some residual 3D printing supports in here. It's towards the enemy, towards enemy. So we need a dot there and a dot there. That was printed nicely. And our motor screws. This is where we're going to add a little bit of Loctite. Now, will it fit? Yes. And I do believe a motor spanning board will fit. So we are golden. All right. Put our flywheels on. Now we can start soldering. Okay. Let's make sure that does in fact still fit. It does, just barely. Lovely, 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 lovely. All right. So this is essentially a bullpup strife, so it's very simple wiring. One switch, 3 wires, negative to flywheel assembly, positive to switch, switch to flywheel assembly. Nothing complicated about it. We will just need to make sure we run our cables cleanly. So we're going to come up from the battery assembly. We're going to go in and around here. And I'm actually going to come up to this forward set rather than this rear set, as I think I can solder to it a little bit more clean. So we're going to strip, twist, flux, tin, need to tin my motor leads the same way. Yep, negative positive. Okay. Come across, and we're going to solder in right there. So we want to get a gob of solder going across there, and do the same on the positive side just to have it done. There we go. Come up underneath. And there we go. Now we are sure that wire shouldn't get in the way of the shell. You're going to want to make sure it's tucked in there nicely. Away from that flywheel. There's a wheel that's slightly exposed on this side. We don't want to clip that. Alright. that's our negative. We'll just give it a decent amount of tail there. Okay, positive. So it's going to come in from the battery housing, but instead of going to the flywheel assembly, it's going to come along here through the thumb hole stock up to normally open, which is the middle prong on the switch. So probably should have tinned my switch leads before I put it in, but I didn't. Okay, and we're also going to need COM, the side prong. Okay. The usual, strip it, twist it, flux it, leave off, tin it. Solder it in place, make sure it's good and sturdy. This one still has convenient little cable channels that you might be able to still use. Pull it through. Clip it same length as your negative. And then finally, we're going to do final positive line, snip, twist, flux, tin, connect this one to COM. Okay, and then we're going to run it back up to the positive side. Make sure we've got enough cable to keep it out of everything's way. Snip it, strip it, twist it, flux it. Tin it. And finally, there we go. Make sure your connections are solid. Check your cable management. Alright, that just leaves the XD60. Don't forget the heat shrink. Okay, train. Check the leads. They seem good. Put on our heat shrink. Hit it with the heat gun. There we go. Find a battery. That's a 3S. There's the 2S. Did I wire it correctly? Yes! Alright, let's reassemble it. See if it will fling some foam. Okay, rev trigger doesn't catch. Alright, put some foam through it, hopefully. Came in with a high of 143. Not too shabby. That is a fine war Rayven. Does it shoot even a little straight? Yeah, it actually does. I am pleased. All right. There you have it, a simple Rayven rewire. It's very, very similar to the Strife. The wiring is identical, it's just a slightly different shell. Hope this helps someone out there. Thank you for watching.